Imagine this for a moment. You're sitting alone, in silence, just you and your thoughts. Everything is still, calm. And then, like a bolt of lightning cutting through a clear sky, a memory crashes into your mind. You didn't ask for it. You didn't go looking for it. But there it is. Maybe it's a betrayal that still burns like fire in your chest. Maybe it's a relationship that left you shattered into pieces. Or maybe it's a mistake. One of those that clings to you like a shadow, chasing your every step, even after all this time. Sound familiar? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover could change everything. There's a hidden truth, a powerful secret unearthed from the deepest corners of the human soul by the great psychologist Carl Jung. A truth that doesn't just offer healing for the memories that haunt you, it promises something even greater. Freedom, a liberation from the chains of your past, a way to finally live the life you were always meant to live. And the most incredible part, this power is already inside you. It's been there all along, quietly waiting for you to awaken it. I'm not talking about wishful thinking or fairy tale magic. I'm not offering empty promises wrapped in comforting words. What I'm talking about is real. It's deep, transformative, and it's rooted in Jung's revolutionary understanding of the human mind and soul. So take a deep breath. You're about to embark on an intense, soul-shifting journey. Carl Jung was more than a psychologist. He was a pioneer, a fearless explorer of the unconscious realms of the human psyche. He believed that inside every one of us exists a hidden universe, a realm beneath the surface of our conscious thoughts. This isn't just some vague storage room for random ideas or bizarre dreams. It's much more than that. It's the archive of your entire being. Every joy, every fear, every scar, especially the ones you've tried to bury so deep that you flinch just thinking about them. But here's the key. Jung didn't see pain as something to run from or to lock away and forget. He saw it as a message, a sacred signal from your soul, crying out, "Look at me, there is something here that needs healing." So I ask you, what memory have you been avoiding today? What moment from your past still weighs on your shoulders like a backpack filled with stones? Because today, we're going to start letting go of those stones, one by one, using the tools Jung gave us. Think about it. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, there's something that always seems to pull you backward? A whisper in your mind that says, "You're not enough." A cruel voice insisting that you don't deserve love. Or maybe it's the fear that you'll just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Jung had a name for that voice, for that inner weight dragging you down. He called it the shadow. The shadow is that part of you that you keep hidden. It's the side you try to ignore, the feelings you suppress, the truths you hope no one ever sees. It's your fears, your insecurities. It's every moment of shame, guilt, or pain you've tried to erase from your story. But here's the twist. Jung didn't see the shadow as your enemy. It's not here to destroy you. It's here to teach you. Every time a painful memory surfaces, it's not the universe punishing you. It's your shadow asking, begging you to stop running and finally look it in the eyes, to acknowledge it, to accept it. And what if I told you that by doing just that, you could begin to heal wounds you didn't even realize were still bleeding? Let's pause. Right now. Just take a breath with me. Inhale slowly. Exhale gently. Feel the air moving through you. Let yourself settle into this moment. Now I want you to think of a relationship that hurt you. Maybe someone betrayed you. Maybe someone made you feel small, unworthy. invisible. Maybe they abandoned you when you needed them most. Hold that person in your mind. Jung would tell you that this person wasn't just someone who came into your life to hurt you. Number, they were a mirror. Yes, a mirror reflecting back something hidden deep within you, something you still haven't fully faced. Maybe it's a fear of being rejected. Maybe it's a desperate craving for validation. Or maybe it's an old childhood wound that never had the chance to properly heal. Now imagine, just imagine, what could happen if instead of blaming that person, you stopped and asked yourself, what is this showing me about myself? That's where Jung's brilliance shines brightest. He showed us that our pain can become the doorway to deep self-awareness. The very thing that hurts you could be the thing that helps you grow. Don't get me wrong. This isn't about excusing those who hurt you. This isn't about saying, it's okay that they treated me that way. It's not about letting people off the hook. It's about reclaiming your power. Because as long as you carry that pain like a victim, you're still giving your power away to the one who hurt you. But when you face that pain, when you look it in the eye and say, I'm going to understand this. I'm going to heal from this. The power comes back to you. And believe me, there is nothing more liberating than that. Jung understood something that many still struggle to grasp today. He knew that the unconscious mind is not just a hidden corner of our psyche. It is a living, breathing force that communicates with us constantly, not with words or logic, but through symbols, through emotions, through dreams. And yes, even through those painful memories you try so hard to forget. Let's talk about something we've all experienced at some point. Self-love, or perhaps more accurately, the painful absence of it. How many times have you looked at yourself in the mirror and felt like you weren't enough? Like you were somehow falling short of what you should be? How many times have you allowed someone else's opinion, words, or actions to define your worth? Jung would tell you that every time you hand over your value to someone else, you're committing a small betrayal. Not to them, but to yourself. Specifically, to your unconscious self. Because deep within you, beneath the noise of your doubts and the scars of your past, lives a profound truth. You are already enough, exactly as you are. But to access that truth, to truly embody it, you must confront the internal voice that insists otherwise. You must face your shadow. That shadow is not just a metaphor. It's made up of the wounds you carry, the ones you've buried so deeply that you've almost convinced yourself they no longer matter. But they do. That time you were harshly criticized. That moment you were rejected. That failure that convinced you you weren't worthy of trying again. Do any of these ring a bell? Because if they do, I need you to listen carefully. Those memories, as vivid as they may feel, are not absolute truths. They're not your destiny. They are just stories. Stories that your mind has chosen to replay on a loop. But here's the powerful part. You can choose to rewrite them. Imagine this for a moment. You're walking through a dense, dark forest. Fog surrounds you. The path ahead is unclear, and every step feels uncertain. And just as you're about to turn back, a soft voice whispers from within, "Keep going. You're close." That voice, that gentle guidance, is your unconscious. And that forest, that's your past. Jung believed that the unconscious is always trying to communicate with us, to lead us, to guide us toward healing, even when we don't consciously realize it. But in order to hear it clearly, you have to stop running. Stop avoiding the pain. Sit with it. Ask it, what are you trying to teach me? Maybe right now, as I speak, you're thinking of a very specific memory or moment from your past. Don't push it away. Hold on to it. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to go even deeper into Jung's ideas and discover how to use them, not just to understand your pain, but to truly transform it and find peace. So let me ask you a direct question. When was the last time you truly felt like yourself? Not the version of you that others expect, not the mask you wear to survive, but the real, unfiltered, unashamed you. If it's hard to answer, that's okay. You're not alone. Most of us lose touch with that authentic self at some point. According to Jung, this happens because the noise of the outside world drowns out the voice of our inner world. The expectations of others, unresolved wounds, toxic relationships. These things form a wall between who we are and who we were meant to be. But here's the hope. That wall is not permanent. You can tear it down. And the tool to do that is courage. Courage to face the pain. Courage to look inward. Courage to love yourself through the messiness of healing. Let me take a moment to share something personal with you. There was a period in my life when I carried a memory that broke me inside. A relationship I ended out of fear. And even after it was over, I kept wondering if I'd ever be enough for anyone. Every time I thought about it, my stomach would tighten. My chest would feel heavy. Until one day, inspired by Jung's teachings, I decided to stop avoiding it. I sat with that pain. I wrote about it. I spoke it out loud. I gave it form. And slowly, I realized it wasn't about that other person. It was about a part of me that needed healing. My own insecurity. My own fear of inadequacy. And do you know what happened? That emotional knot that had lived in my chest for years, it began to unravel. Not instantly, not in some magical, dramatic way, but gradually. And it changed everything. So now, I'll ask you, what memory are you ready to let go of today? Think about it, reflect on it, and stay with me, because we're about to dive even deeper. Healing from painful memories is not about pretending they don't exist. It's not just about thinking positively or distracting yourself with temporary pleasures. Real healing requires intention. It requires action. And yes, it requires courage. Carl Jung gave us a map, a framework to explore the unconscious. And what we're doing right now is taking that map and using it in your life. So get ready, because this is going to be practical. This is going to be personal. And if you allow it, it will be transformative. If you're still here, listening to my voice, it's because something inside of you is ready for change. And I promise you, whatever that something is, it's more powerful than you could ever imagine. Let's talk about relationships for a moment. Everyone has had that one connection that left them shattered. Maybe it was a romantic partner who promised you everything, only to vanish without explanation. Maybe it was a friend who betrayed your trust in the moment you needed them most. What did you do with that pain? Did you bottle it up? Lock it away in some imaginary vault, hoping time would erase it? If so, you're not alone. But Jung teaches us something radical, that pain doesn't disappear just because you hide it. It stays. It waits. It lodges itself in your unconscious, in your shadow, and keeps showing up in your life in ways you don't even realize. Maybe you now struggle to trust anyone. Maybe you shut down every time someone gets too close. Maybe you've built emotional walls so high that even you don't know what's on the other side. Do you recognize yourself in any of this? Then listen closely. There is a way out. Jung said, the unconscious speaks through symbols and patterns. So look closely at your relationships. Is there a pattern? Do you often feel invisible? Do you attract people who drain your energy, leaving you exhausted, empty? That's not random. That's not bad luck. That is your unconscious mind waving a red flag, pointing to an old wound that needs your attention. Let me tell you a story. A subscriber once wrote to me and said, "I always end up with partners who abandon me. What am I doing wrong?" And I shared a Jungian perspective. Look at your shadow. Ask yourself, what part of you believes you don't deserve lasting love? When he did the work, when he looked inward, he found a memory, a moment from childhood where he felt unwanted, rejected. And when he truly faced it, everything began to shift. So I'll ask you now, what pattern are you ready to break? Let's pause here. Close your eyes for just a moment. Breathe. Now, think of someone who hurt you deeply. Don't rush. Let their face come to mind. Hold it there. Now imagine this person standing in front of you. What would you say to them? Not from a place of anger, but from a place of self-love, from a place of truth. Maybe you'd say something like, "You hurt me, but I no longer give you the power to define who I am." Let that sink in. Let yourself feel the power of reclaiming your voice. Because this is just the beginning. Jung would say that this seemingly small act of using your imagination is actually a powerful step toward integrating your shadow. Why? Because when you speak to that memory, when you truly acknowledge it, you are not just reliving the pain, you are beginning to transform it. You are facing it head-on, gently, but with intention. And in doing so, you begin to heal. You're not avoiding, denying, or pushing it away anymore. You're recognizing it as part of your story. And that is the beginning of alchemy, of turning pain into wisdom. Take a moment now. How did that feel for you? Did something shift inside you, even if only slightly? Hold on to that feeling, no matter how small. We're going to build on it. That feeling is the seed of something profound. Because at the core of this entire process, this journey of self-discovery and shadow integration, lies one essential truth: self-love. Jung believed, and I agree with him, that it is impossible to live a full and meaningful life if we don't embrace ourselves completely. Not just the bright, admirable parts, but also the messy, hidden, wounded parts, including our shadows, especially our shadows. But here's where many of us get stuck. Many people confuse self-love with selfishness. We've been conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first is wrong, that it's something to feel guilty about. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever prioritized your needs and immediately felt shame creeping in? I know I have. There was a time in my life when I had to say no to someone who constantly demanded more from me than I had to give. I finally drew a line, and even though it was the right thing to do, I carried guilt for days, until one day something clicked. I realized that protecting my energy is not selfish, it's sacred. It's an act of reverence for myself. And Carl Jung would have agreed. Every single time you allow someone to cross your boundaries, you're sending a silent message to your unconscious mind. I'm not worthy enough to be protected. But when you stand your ground, when you say, with clarity and love, "My peace matters," the message shifts. You begin to tell your entire system, "I deserve to be well. I am worthy of calm. I am worthy of safety." So I ask you now, from a place of honesty and compassion, what boundaries do you need to set today to truly honor yourself? Let's explore how these hidden memories, the ones buried deep in your unconscious, can shape your future, especially your dreams. Have you ever had a goal, a dream that lit a fire inside of you, only to slowly watch it fade away? Maybe you once dreamed of traveling the world, writing a novel, starting a business, or learning something new. But somehow, that dream began to feel distant, even impossible, and you don't quite know why. Jung would say, the past is whispering to you. Imagine a child who dreams of becoming an artist. One day, someone, maybe a parent, a teacher, or a peer, says, that's not a realistic goal. That single sentence plants itself in the child's subconscious. It hides in the shadow, tucked away. But years later, that same child, now an adult, still feels resistance whenever they try to create. Doubt sneaks in. Am I really good enough? And that doubt, it's not about talent, it's a shadow echo from the past. Has anything like that ever happened to you? Because it's happened to me. There was a period in my life when I stopped creating altogether. A memory of failure had become so loud in my mind that I began to believe it was the truth. It convinced me that I wasn't talented enough, smart enough, worthy enough. But then I discovered Jung's work, and slowly I began to face that memory. I sat with it, questioned it, reframed it, and I realized something profound. That memory does not define who I am or what I am capable of. So I ask you now, what dream of yours is quietly waiting in the shadows, longing for you to heal the past so it can finally come to life? Let's go deeper. What is stealing your peace right now? Don't overthink it. Just allow the answer to rise up from within. Is it a draining relationship? A mistake you can't forgive yourself for? A fear you've tried to bury? Whatever it is, Jung would tell you, that thief lives in your shadow. And the only way to stop it from running your life is to face it. Not with fear, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Maybe that mistake taught you how to be resilient. Maybe that toxic relationship taught you what love is not, and in doing so, showed you what you truly deserve. When you begin to see your memories through this lens, something powerful happens. They stop being chains that hold you back, and they become teachers that guide you forward. You are ready to change the way you look at your past. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine there's a memory you carry, one where someone humiliated you in front of others. Even now, when you think about it, you feel that familiar sting of shame rising in your throat. It's still there, unresolved, unhealed. Jung would invite you not to push it away, but to sit with it. Really sit with it. Write about it. Speak about it to someone you trust. Or close your eyes and visualize that scene again. But this time, see yourself responding differently. See yourself standing tall, speaking with strength, with self-love. Say to yourself, yes, this happened, but it does not define me. Little by little, that memory loses its power over you. I did this with one of my own memories, and I swear it felt like a massive weight was lifted from my chest. It was a physical shift, as if something heavy and invisible had finally let go. So let me ask you, what memory are you ready to release today? Don't wait. Don't postpone it. This is your moment, your chance to step into a new version of yourself. And I want to be honest with you. Healing is not easy. There will be days when you want to run from the pain, when you want to cover your ears, shut your eyes, and pretend everything is fine. That's normal. That's human. But Jung reminds us, true growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the discomfort, in the moments when we dare to face what we've been avoiding for years. When you confront your shadow, when you bravely look into those painful memories, you're declaring, I choose freedom. And that freedom, it doesn't just heal your past, it transforms your present. It reshapes your relationships. You stop attracting people who wound you, and you begin to magnetize those who uplift you, who see your light, who walk beside you in truth. And isn't that worth it? We're only halfway through this journey, and now we're going even deeper. Because healing your painful memories isn't just about feeling better for a few minutes. It's about changing your life from the inside out. Carl Jung wasn't just a psychologist. He was a guide for souls searching for more authenticity, more peace, more meaning. And you, listening right now, you are one of those souls. I can feel it. I can sense it in your energy. You are ready. So let's take everything we've talked about and go to the next level. Are you with me? Good. Because it's about to get even more powerful. Let's talk about something we all face at some point. Chaos. Those moments when life feels like a storm, when nothing makes sense, and you feel lost in the middle of it. Maybe it was a breakup that left you shattered. Maybe it was a mistake that made you question your entire identity. Or maybe it was just life pulling the rug out from under you when you least expected it. Jung saw chaos as something sacred. Yes, you heard that right. Sacred. To him, chaos wasn't a sign of destruction or the end of the road. It was the beginning of something profound. Chaos, in its raw and wild form, was the fertile ground where the seeds of your transformation begin to take root. It's not the collapse that defines you, but what emerges from it. But here's the secret, one that many people overlook. You can't just sit and wait for the storm to pass, hoping for clarity or change. You have to step into that storm. You have to walk straight into the fire, eyes wide open, heart exposed. You must face the chaos, confront it, sit with its discomfort, and dig deep into the lessons it's hiding. Because chaos doesn't come empty-handed. It brings gifts, but only for those who are willing to search for them. Let me ask you something. When was the last time chaos knocked on your door? When everything felt like it was falling apart? When nothing made sense? When you were drowning in uncertainty? What did you do with that moment? Did you run from it? Did you try to numb it? Or forget it? Or did you dare to look it in the eyes? Think about it. Every painful memory you carry is like a seed buried deep within that chaos. At first glance, it may seem lifeless. It may look dark, ugly, something you want to bury even deeper. But what if I told you that this seed isn't dead? What if I told you that if you water it with awareness, with compassion, with self-love, that seed could grow into something truly beautiful, something powerful, something true? Jung called this process individuation, a journey of becoming your authentic self. Not just the parts of you that smile in the light, but all of you. The broken parts, the ashamed parts, the parts you've disowned or hidden. He believed that to be whole, you must integrate every aspect of your being, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones. Now imagine for a second that the moment someone broke your heart wasn't just a wound, but a message, a lesson in disguise, a sacred whisper telling you what you truly need in love, what you deserve, and what you must stop settling for. Or that failure you thought had ruined your life. What if that was the very thing that planted the roots of your inner strength? What if you stopped viewing your past as a series of mistakes and started seeing it as your greatest teacher? Let's take a pause together, just for a moment. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale, hold it. Now exhale slowly. Now let your mind travel back to a vulnerable moment in your past. Don't resist it. Let it rise. Let it come to the surface. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Good. Now imagine that this moment isn't your enemy. It's not here to torment you. It's a teacher, a guide. In the silence of your heart, ask that moment a question. What did you come to teach me? And then, just listen. You don't have to force the answer. Trust what arises. Jung believed the unconscious holds deep wisdom. But we only hear it when we have the courage to ask, when we get quiet enough to truly listen. What did that memory tell you? Don't ignore it. Don't brush it aside, because that answer might just be the key to your healing. Now let's talk about something that many of us struggle with: relationships. Because often, it's through other people that our deepest wounds come to the surface. Relationships are like mirrors, sometimes beautiful, sometimes brutal, but always honest. They show us who we are, especially the parts we try to deny. Have you ever noticed yourself repeating the same emotional patterns, falling for the same kind of person over and over again? Maybe you're drawn to people who don't value you. Maybe you find yourself in friendships that drain your energy and leave you feeling small. You might think it's just bad luck or coincidence, but Jung would say otherwise. He would say it's projection. We project our unresolved wounds, our shadows, onto others. And in return, they reflect back to us what we have yet to heal within ourselves. Let me give you an example. If you keep attracting people who reject you, there's a chance you're projecting an old wound, perhaps a fear of abandonment, a childhood pain, a story you internalized long ago that says you are not enough. That pain lives in your shadow, and until it's seen, it keeps writing your story without your awareness. Does that resonate with you? So here's the challenge. The next time someone hurts you, instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" try asking, "What is this showing me about myself?" Because within that reflection, however painful, it might be pointing you toward the very part of yourself that's ready to be healed. Chaos, pain, heartbreak. They aren't your enemies. They are the fire that forges your strength. They are the sacred messengers of your transformation. You're not here to stay comfortable. You're here to evolve. And evolution always begins in the dark. So the next time life breaks you open, don't run, don't hide. Step into the chaos and listen, because the universe is whispering something only you were meant to hear. I'm going to share something deeply vulnerable. Years ago, I was in a relationship that left me shattered. This person constantly made me feel like I was never enough. At first, I was convinced the problem was them. How they treated me, how they made me feel, how little they seemed to care. I held on to that narrative for a long time, believing that I was just a victim of someone else's coldness and cruelty. But then, something shifted. I came across the work of Carl Jung, and everything started to make sense in a way it never had before. Jung spoke of the concept of the shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves that we refuse to see, the pieces we've rejected, buried, or denied. And suddenly, it hit me. That person wasn't just hurting me, they were reflecting me. They were a mirror, showing me the parts of myself I hadn't yet healed. The pain I felt didn't originate from them. It came from within, from a deep, unhealed place inside me, a wound rooted in my childhood. I remembered moments when I felt invisible, overlooked, unheard. That relationship merely awakened a wound that was already there. Facing that realization wasn't easy. It shook me. But when I confronted it, when I allowed myself to feel the pain, to sit with the discomfort, to stop blaming and start understanding, I didn't just heal from that relationship. I transformed the way I relate to others entirely. Now, when someone crosses my boundaries, I don't stay silent. I speak up. I honor my voice. I protect my peace. And that's something I never thought I was capable of before. Let me ask you something. What past wound is shaping your current relationships? What unresolved pain is quietly scripting the story of your love life, your friendships, your self-worth? Here's a hard truth, but a liberating one. You can't heal what you're not willing to face. Jung used to say, "What you resist persists." And he was right. Every time you run away from a painful memory, you give it more power. It doesn't disappear. It grows. It becomes a monster, lurking in the shadow, feeding off your silence and avoidance. But when you shine a light on it, when you choose to look at it, truly see it, that monster begins to shrink. That's when healing begins. It's not painless. There will be tears. There will be days when you want to give up, when the weight feels unbearable. But there will also be moments of release, of clarity, of a peace you haven't felt in years. Isn't that worth trying for? Let's talk about how self-love connects to all of this, because healing your past isn't just about letting go of pain. It's about rebuilding your relationship with yourself. Jung believed that self-love wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity, and it begins the moment you stop running from your shadows and start embracing them. It begins when you look at your regrets, your failures, your traumas, and instead of rejecting them, you say, "I see you. You are a part of me, and I'm learning to love you too." Picture this. You're standing in front of a mirror. Instead of picking yourself apart, instead of listing all the things you wish were different, you look into your own eyes and say, "I see you. I know you've been through so much, but I'm proud of you." When was the last time you spoke to yourself like that? If you can't remember, maybe today is the perfect day to start. Let me ask you another question. What are you telling yourself that's keeping you from happiness, from love, from success? Those messages, those inner critics, didn't come from nowhere. They were born from past experiences, from people or moments that convinced you that something was broken inside of you. But Jung would argue, you're not broken, you're incomplete. And the way to complete yourself is by reintegrating the parts of you that you've rejected, abandoned, or forgotten. So, take a moment. Breathe. Say it with me. I deserve to heal. I deserve to feel whole. I deserve peace. Say it again. Repeat it until you believe it. Because once you believe it, everything changes. Now let me offer you a simple but powerful exercise. Take a piece of paper and write down a painful memory you've been carrying. Don't overthink it. Don't filter yourself. Just let it pour out. Let the memory take shape on the page. Then look at what you've written and ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? Once you've reflected, write one sentence of self-love beneath it. Despite this, I choose to love myself. You can keep the paper, or if it feels right, you can burn it as a symbol of release. I did this once with a memory of rejection that haunted me for years. And I swear to you, the moment the paper turned to ash, it felt like I was shedding armor I didn't even know I was wearing. Would you be willing to try it? This is the kind of inner work Jung would celebrate. Not passive reflection, but courageous action. We've reached the end of this journey together, but it's not a goodbye. It's the beginning of something new. Everything we've explored so far, everything Jung taught us, has led us to this moment, to this truth. Your painful memories are not chains. They are fuel. They are the raw materials of your transformation. So take a deep breath. Let it fill you with strength. This is your moment to rise, to reclaim your life, to step into your authentic self. Are you ready to discover what it means to live from a place of truth? Are you ready to truly heal? Let's begin. Jung had a powerful idea: synchronicity. Have you ever noticed that when you start to change on the inside, the world around you begins to shift too? That isn't a coincidence. That's synchronicity. It's the universe responding to your courage. When you begin to face your inner shadows, those wounds, fears, and memories that have kept you stuck, and you finally begin to heal them, life begins to fall into place in ways that feel almost magical. But it's not magic. It's alignment. It's transformation. It's you, becoming who you were, always meant to be. Let me tell you a story. I once met a subscriber who had spent years in a toxic relationship. She felt invisible, drained, and unworthy. But one day, she decided to let go. Not just of the person, but of the pattern, the cycle, the part of herself that believed she wasn't enough. She did the hard work. She confronted her shadow. And something amazing happened. She landed a job she was passionate about. She met new friends who truly saw her, appreciated her, and respected her. That's not magic. That's the power of healing. That's synchronicity in action. Now I ask you, what could begin to align in your life if you had the courage to heal? Just for a moment, let's pause together. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale and exhale. Now, I want you to imagine your life without the weight of those memories. Imagine waking up without the heaviness in your chest, without the voice in your head that doubts your worth. How would you feel? What would you do differently? Would you dare to love again? Would you finally chase that dream you buried years ago? Jung used to say that what we often call dreams are not fantasies. They're glimpses. Glimpses of what our unconscious mind already knows is possible. That vision you see for yourself, it's real. But to get there, you have to let go. Let go of the pain, the guilt, the excuses. Let go of the relationships that keep you tethered to who you used to be. So let me ask you, what are you ready to release today? Let's talk about purpose for a moment. Jung believed that the meaning of life isn't about chasing happiness. It's about living in wholeness. And wholeness only comes when you're living as your true self. But here's the hard truth. Most of us aren't. We walk through life wearing masks. Masks that say, "I'm fine," when we're breaking inside. Masks that say, "I don't need anyone," when deep down, we're longing for connection. These masks help us survive, but they also keep us from truly living. What mask are you wearing today? Is it the one that pretends you're in control? The one that hides your sadness? The one that keeps people at arm's length so they never see the real you? Healing peels away those masks. It exposes you, not to shame you, but to free you. It brings you back to your raw, authentic self. And yes, it's terrifying, but it's also the most liberating thing you will ever do. Let me be clear with you. The world needs you to heal. Yes, you. Because when you heal, you don't just change your life. You create ripples. You change the lives of the people around you. Your family, your friends, even strangers who cross your path. Your courage becomes their inspiration. Imagine that you shared this video with someone who's struggling right now. Maybe your words in the comments will be the exact message they need to hear to begin their own journey. Don't hold this back. Don't keep it to yourself. Be part of something bigger than you. Jung believed we're all connected. Your healing is not just yours. It's a gift to the world. Before we close, I have one last exercise for you. Close your eyes. Bring to mind a memory that still hurts. A memory you rarely talk about, but always feel. Now picture yourself wrapping that memory in light. See it glowing, gently surrounded by warmth and peace. Then say to it, "Thank you for what you taught me, but I don't need you anymore," and feel it dissolve. Watch it fade away like mist in the morning sun. I remember doing this with one of my own memories, and when I opened my eyes, I felt a peace I hadn't felt in years. I want that for you. Try it. And when you do, tell me about it in the comments. I want to know. I want to hear your story. If this message touched something in you, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs healing. Leave a comment below and tell me, what memory are you ready to heal? What action will you take today? Your words matter more than you know. They don't just inspire me, they inspire everyone who reads them. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Every week, I bring you more content like this so we can keep growing together. Every time you comment, share, or interact, you're helping this message reach someone who might need it more than you can imagine. Life is a canvas, and you're holding the brush. As Carl Jung showed us, it's not about erasing the past, it's about using it to paint something beautiful. So get up, face your shadows, speak your truth. Because when you do, you don't just heal your most painful memories, you become the person you are always destined to be. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this family. I'll see you in the next video. And remember this, change begins with you. Imagine this for a moment. Night falls like a heavy curtain, covering everything in shadows. Outside, the city lights flicker like cryptic signs on a cosmic board. And you sit there, staring at the phone screen, surrounded by a silence so sharp it cuts through the air. A name burns on the message window. A conversation left open like a wound. You sense something simple, almost mundane, and yet no reply comes. 10 minutes, 30, an hour. Your chest fills with small, stabbing pains. Did they forget me? Are they playing with me? Did they grow tired of me? You feel your stomach sink, as if in free fall. Then comes the whirlwind of interpretations, the endless stories your mind creates just to avoid tolerating uncertainty. And still, beneath all that noise, there lies a deeper truth, one that very few dare to look at directly. Sometimes the person who loves you ignores you. Not out of indifference, not out of contempt, but because love itself opens a door too vast to cross without trembling. The soul, in order to protect what feels sacred, withdraws for a moment, pulling its hand back just before touching the flame. I know this sounds paradoxical. Your mind craves certainty, schedules, responses, a regular pulse confirming that everything is safe. But when love is real, it summons ancient forces. It awakens archetypes, stirs up dormant complexes, and shakes memories we didn't even know we carried. To love is to invoke, and when that call arrives, the ego often recoils, like a wary animal, unsure if it can trust the light. Silence then emerges, and you mistake it for a judgment, a rejection, an abandonment. But perhaps it is something else entirely. It might be the clumsy, yet profoundly human attempt to regulate an inner overflow. What I am about to tell you may not be comfortable, but it could save you years of suffering. Not every silence is a punishment. Sometimes silence is a sacred ritual of protection. Not every distance is humiliation. Sometimes distance is a bridge being built in the darkness. Of course, there are silences that are pure passive aggression, childish punishments, power games. We can all recognize them. But there are also silences that feel like a deep breath before crossing the threshold of an intimacy so raw It terrifies with its truth. If these words are echoing somewhere deep within you, stay with me, because what comes next might transform the way you see yourself and those you love. Think back to those childhood moments when you felt something too overwhelming, an unexpected compliment that left you speechless, an embrace that made you cry without understanding why, or that instant when someone got so close to your center that your hands trembled without permission. The body remembers those moments, and when, as adults, real love appears, the kind of love that doesn't just please you, but truly recognizes you, old alarms are triggered. For some, the instinctive response is to lean in more, to dive deeper. For others, it is to withdraw, to ignore for a few hours or even days, not as a calculated tactic, but as a defense mechanism of the soul. It's too much. Give me a second, so that the frightened child within me doesn't run away completely. From a Jungian perspective, we might read this as the collision between the ego and the numinous. Jung spoke of encounters that carry a luminous quality, moments that overwhelm, placing you before a meaning that surpasses the ego. The archetype of the lover is not only tenderness, it is fire, dissolution, the urge to merge with what you love. And sometimes the ego, in order to survive, extinguishes the light for a moment. To look into the eyes of someone you love can be like looking into a mirror that suddenly reveals your own shadow. All those unacknowledged parts, your fears, your wounds, your unspoken desires. How do you respond to something for which you have no language? With silence, with retreat, with a pseudo-forgetting that is really just a pause to avoid collapsing. Pay close attention to a subtlety that most people overlook. The person who ignores you out of malice wants to see you burn with anxiety. The person who ignores you out of love, unknowingly, wants to avoid setting you on fire. The difference lies in the atmosphere. Malicious silence comes with tension, power plays, sharp words meant to wound. Loving silence carries clumsiness, later apologies, a soft shame when they return and admit, "I'm sorry, I felt overwhelmed." It is not a polished speech, it is a tremor, and that tremor leaves a trace worth noticing. Pause with me here and picture this. A house on top of a hill, its windows open to the wind. In the center, a candle burns. A sudden gust enters, bending the flame almost to the point of extinction. What would you do? Blow harder? Or would you cup your hands gently around it, shielding it just enough so it can keep burning? That is what real love is. It doesn't ask for desperate breath. It asks for hands forming a shelter, a gesture that sustains without suffocating. So when someone who loves you steps back for a moment, maybe they are not saying, "I don't love you." Maybe they are silently pleading, "Give me a moment. I want to love you well." Here unfolds the dance of archetypes. The inner warrior, trained to fight, grows restless in front of the lover who asks for surrender. The king who thrives on order mistrusts the chaos of losing control. The poor, the eternal child, seeks intoxication without responsibility. The maiden that lives within us all, yes, in both men and women, fears being seen in her vulnerability. And then the trickster whispers, "Test them. Step back to see if they chase you," corrupting sacred silence with petty games. That is why we must learn to distinguish withdrawal as regulation from withdrawal as manipulation. And how do you tell the difference? By its music. Manipulation beats with the rhythm of someone else's panic, speeding up your heart, pushing you into undignified reactions. Regulation, on the other hand, moves like the tide, It goes, but it returns, in tune with a genuine need. And when it returns, it brings words that open, not words that close. If this truth is opening a new space in your mind, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes simply naming this possibility can turn down the volume of your anxiety, because anxiety pushes you to do the very opposite of what your soul desires. It makes you chase, when what your dignity truly asks is to stay rooted in your center. You chase with questions, with reproaches, with irony, and in doing so, you lose the quiet magnetism of a grounded presence. The great misunderstanding is believing that responding to silence with noise will restore the bond. More often, it breaks it further. Sometimes the most seductive, the most profoundly human choice is to resist the theater, to embrace clarity instead. Here I am, without pressure. I love you, and I love myself. I'll return to my own life. We'll talk when both of us are ready. And now let me take you to another frontier. Projections. When someone loves you and yet withdraws, it may be because they have projected onto you an oversized figure, the mother who heals, the father who guides, the savior who rescues, the judge who condemns. And suddenly, you are not just yourself. You have become a screen onto which the unconscious is throwing images larger than life. That symbolic inflation is dizzying. And what if I cannot hold what is seen in me? And what if in the end I am seen and it is not liked? Then the phone goes silent, messages are avoided, meetings are sidestepped. It is not that there is no desire, it is that the desire is so strong, the self does not know where to stand. Ignoring becomes an aspirin for fear. The paradox is that when aspirin is taken in excess, it kills what it was meant to protect. That is why mature love learns to speak with fear, sits it at the table, listens to it, gives it water, and returns. You may ask, and what do I do in the meantime? Because waiting without meaning makes one sick. The answer, though unwelcome, is simple and difficult. Hold the flame and hold yourself. Keep your life running, your ritual centered, your breathing deep at dawn, your body in motion, your purpose lit. Resist the impulse to turn another's silence into your own abandonment. And after a reasonable time, the one your dignity dictates, the one you know, if you quiet down and listen, offer a message clean, without irony, without accusation. When you vanish, I worry and disconnect. I prefer the truth. If you need time, say so. If you no longer want, say so. And if you do want, here I am. I will not run after, nor will I flee myself. That is Logos serving heroes. Clear word that protects the bond without betraying you. There are dreams that come to save what the mind cannot name. People dream of phones without signal, of houses where doors close on their own, of trains that pass and do not stop, of waves that rise and force you to step back 2 steps before advancing. The unconscious does not speak English. It speaks metaphor. It shows you through images the dance of approach and withdrawal that intimacy sometimes requires. If you are dreaming this way, do not punish yourself. On the contrary, it signals that something in you is learning a new rhythm. Synchronicity leaves traces as well. You receive a song about waiting on the radio. You see a couple embrace after arguing. A book on limits and desire appears before you. They are small lights in the darkness of the corridor. Use them. Let us speak of a crucial nuance. Attachment. The avoidant pattern protects itself by withdrawing. The anxious pattern protects itself by moving in too close. When an anxious one loves an avoidant, the script is almost mathematical. The more one insists, the more the other hides. And here lies an emotional trap. believing that insisting proves love. Sometimes insisting proves panic. The soul of the other does not respond to panic. It responds to the music of calm. If you are still here, it means you are not like the rest, and that you are ready to go further. Beyond is learning to love without chasing, and to step back without punishing. It is holding your axis, and from there, inviting. Not forcing the door, but becoming a place where the other longs to return. I propose a small ritual for the moments when absence bites. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your chest. Ask yourself quietly, what does this anxiety really want? Sometimes it wants contact. Sometimes it wants certainty. Almost always, it wants to feel that you matter. Place your hand over your heart and say, I matter now, with or without reply. Breathe 5 times, imagining that with each exhale, you clear the room of smoke. You are not attacking, you are ventilating. Then write by hand 3 phrases that express your truth without manipulation. I like you and want to build. I need simple communication. I can give you space without losing myself. Leave them on paper. Maybe you will send them later, maybe not. But the soul has already heard what it needed. In the inner theater of love, ignoring can wear several masks. Sometimes it is the mask of the fearful who dreads losing himself if he comes too near. Sometimes it is the mask of the proud who believes he will be loved more if he plays hard to get. Sometimes it is the mask of the wounded who learned as a child that disappearing was the only way to feel safe again. Your task is not to tear the mask away by force, it is to look with good light and distinguish. How to distinguish? Watch the pattern over time, not the outburst of a day. Watch what happens when you express your need with gentleness and firmness. Is there openness, adjustment, recognition, or is there disdain, mockery, reversal of blame? In the first case, there is material to work with. In the second, there is a passport ready with your name, the one that lets you leave that customs. I know what you are thinking. And if I am being ignored because there is no love, then the first step is to guard your inner truth. When indifference is real, the body knows. There is no shame when they return. There is no repair, no learning, no tenderness, only consumption of the bond. If there is no soul, there is no mystery. If there is no care, there is no sacred silence. And seduction, the one born of mature presence, does not consist in disguising yourself to please, but in refining your radar to know where and where not to offer your gold. The gold is your time, your attention, your blooming vulnerability. Never place it before one who does not know how to recognize it. I want to speak now of the shadow and its intrigue. The self wants to control the narrative, to feel author of every scene. But love, when it brushes the essential, reminds us we are co-authors. And as co-authors, we sometimes need to step out of the spotlight to see the whole canvas. The one who loves you may ignore you for a moment, because for the first time, they see themselves through your eyes and fear what they see, not the ugly, the immense. There are people who fear their own light because they never learned to build a home for it. If you learn this grammar, you will not lower yourself when the other withdraws. You will make yourself more of a home. And true homes do not chase their inhabitants. They hold the door with the lamp lit. Here is another uncomfortable revelation. Desire does not grow with pursuit. It grows with presence that does not lose itself. Pursuit is breath cut short. Presence is diaphragm free. Pursuit is shadow that distorts. Presence is light that reveals. Do you want to truly seduce? Do not turn every silence into an exam the other must pass. Turn silence into an opportunity to show yourself more worthy, more serene, more alive. Make yourself visible without noise. Return to your projects, to your training, to your reading, to your table with friends, to that which makes you interesting, because it makes you whole. From there speak, from there write, from there invite. It is another music, and the soul recognizes it. Do not confuse this with coldness. Coldness is a wall. What I propose is a garden. A garden with fences, yes. So not just anyone tramples your flowers, but with a gate open for whoever approaches with respect. Limits do not kill love. They give it shape. They are the riverbed. When the other withdraws, your limit is not to run after, nor build a tribunal. It is to hold yourself and offer a channel of return, clear, kind, dignified. The message can be as simple as saying, I won't beg, but I also won't vanish out of pride. If you come back with truth, I am here. And maybe you wonder how this translates into real actions, how you can embody this wisdom when silence begins to sting. Let me put it into the language of life itself. First, feel your body before you reach for your phone. If your chest is in storm, if your breath is tight, do not write. Second, place clean questions before yourself. Do I want contact, or do I want control? Do I wish to care for the bond, or do I wish to punish? Third, if you decide to reach out, write as an adult, not as a wounded child, without sarcasm, without dramatizations, without lists of blame. Fourth, if silence continues, decide from your own center how long you are willing to wait and what is your non-negotiable. Fifth, if they return, listen and observe. Is there growth or just excuses? Sixth, if they do not return, then choose your life and honor what you felt. To love does not mean to deny loss. It means not losing yourself in fear of losing the other. The soul often speaks through small, everyday scenes we tend to overlook. The coffee that cools while you stare at your phone, the book you close at the same page because your mind chased a story that never existed, the city that keeps breathing even when you hold your own breath. Life, with its infinite patience, whispers, come back. Not come back to the person who walked away, but come back to yourself. That is the great secret, if there is one. The one who loves themselves does not collapse before silence. They transform. And in that transformation, something magnetic happens. They become more attractive, because few things seduce more than someone who refuses to bargain with their peace. If this resonates within you, stay with me a little longer. I want to leave you with a final image for those nights when the screen stays empty. Picture a lighthouse on the edge of a cliff. It does not scream. It does not run after ships. It does not beg to be seen. It simply does what it was created to do. It shines. The storm does not extinguish it. On the contrary, the storm makes it more necessary. That is your task in love. Be the lighthouse. If someone loves you yet instinctively withdraws for a time, do not shut yourself down to punish them, nor explode to demand attention. Shine. If it is love, your light will guide them back. If it is not, that same light will show you where to walk. And please do not miss this nuance. If someone loves you, they may still ignore you for a moment. It is not a law written in stone. It is a possible phenomenon, a phase of regulation, a sacred breath needed, so the fire does not consume everything. But do not make of this an excuse to tolerate mistreatment, nor a strategy to manipulate. Make of it a mirror to understand yourself, to choose better. Jungian psychology does not arrive to justify our behaviors, but to deepen us, to remind us that behind every clumsy gesture, there is an inner mythology seeking to be rewritten with more beauty. If this truth has opened a new space inside your mind, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes a single phrase, spoken at the right time, saves two hearts from being lost in misunderstanding. And if you are still here, it means you are not like the rest, that you are ready to go beyond. To go beyond is to commit yourself to an adult form of seduction. The seduction of presence, of warm boundaries, of clear words, of silence that protects. We did not come here to collect instant answers. We came to practice the art of the well-formed question. How can I love without losing myself and without losing you? Before we part, let me offer a reframing I hope will stay with you in the coming days, like a silent mantra woven into your breath. When someone ignores you, do not think, I am not worthy. Think instead, here lies my chance to hold myself. When someone comes back, do not think, finally, I am chosen. Think instead, now I will see if they can truly choose us. And if they do not return, do not throw yourself into the pit of never again. See yourself as the lighthouse still lit for those who will cross your waters with respect. That is not arrogance, it is mature self-love. And the astonishing thing is this: people attuned to their own soul can recognize that kind of radiance. It is a call stronger than any message sent in the middle of the night. If what you've heard touches something in you, turn it into action. Write yourself a brief promise, just for you, declaring how you will keep your flame alive the next time silence arrives. If you wish, share that promise, for reading what others write also organizes, also heals. Subscribing to this space is not an empty gesture. It is a pact with yourself, with your emotional evolution, with a more conscious, freer, more beautiful way of relating. Sharing this message with someone who needs it may be the most practical act of love you can do today. An invitation for the next silence not to break, but to mature the encounter. There is one last secret I want to give you, slowly, so it doesn't slip away. Great love is not measured by the number of messages, but by the depth of presence. When the next night comes and the phone does not ring, listen to what rings inside you. If you learn that music, you will no longer beg for applause in the hallway. You will dance in your own room, and when someone knocks at your door, you will open with the dignity of one who knows that bringing love is not bringing noise. It is bringing home. And home, believe me, is irresistible to souls tired of wandering in the storm. May you sleep with your candle burning. May no wind extinguish it. May your lighthouse find ships that seek a harbor, not a spectacle. And when life hands you silence, may you recognize whether it is a weapon or a prayer. If it is a weapon, protect yourself and move on. If it is a prayer, take off your hat, breathe, and wait for dawn. Because true love, when it returns, comes back with warm bread and a different light in the eyes. And you, who have learned to stand on your own, will know how to receive it, without overflowing, without losing yourself, without lying to yourself. Sometimes, just a single glance is enough. No words are needed. There's no need for physical touch, not even the need to know the other person's name. Because when a connection arises from the unconscious, from that hidden realm beneath all logic and reason, what is felt cannot be put into words. And you know this, perhaps because you felt it too. In a city filled with countless faces, with names and lives intertwined in endless stories, something inexplicable happens. Out of the blue, someone appears, just one person, and they stir something within you, something dormant, something sacred. It's not just physical attraction. It's not fleeting chemistry or the whim of an emotion passing through. It's something much deeper, like a memory echoing from another time, another life, another fragment of your soul. Carl Jung once said that the most meaningful relationships in our lives are not the ones we choose with our minds. They are the ones that emerge from the darkness within us, from what he called the collective unconscious. These encounters are not guided by reason. They are guided by destiny, or perhaps, as Jung often suggested, by the soul's ancient memory. And here's what most people don't fully understand. Not all connections that cause pain are toxic, and not everything easy is necessarily true. Sometimes, the most genuine encounters we experience shake us to the core. They disarm us. They crack us open and force us to face parts of ourselves we never even knew existed. Not because the other person intends to hurt us, but because their presence acts as a mirror, raw, honest, unfiltered. And in that mirror, we see ourselves as we never have before. Have you ever met someone who, without even trying, made you confront everything you had buried? Your childhood wounds, your fears, your shadows, your need to control, your pride, masking your vulnerability. It's as if that person holds a key that unlocks the door to your most hidden self, even if you never gave them permission to enter. That is not coincidence. Jung would say you are facing an archetypal bond, a type of love that transcends the ordinary, that goes beyond the practical or romantic. It's not a bond that arrives to fulfill you. It arrives to transform you. It's not here to comfort your ego, but to awaken your soul. And transformation, real transformation, rarely arrives gently. Sometimes it erupts like a storm, shaking your inner world. It pushes you to face your emptiness, the one you've tried to fill with people or routines. It makes you realize that what you often called love was actually attachment, need, or fear of being alone. But with this person, everything shifts. Time seems to slow down. Words lose their weight. Silence between you feels more intimate than hours of conversation with anyone else. And without knowing why, you feel a sudden willingness to change, to grow, even to break, because something inside you whispers that this is what your soul longs for. Not your ego, your soul. Jung spoke of individuation, the heroic journey of the human being toward the fullness of their being. He described it as a process that often begins with an encounter. Not just any encounter, but one that challenges you, shakes your foundations, one that doesn't align with your expectations, but resonates with your deepest truth. And then you ask yourself, why can't I stop thinking about them? Why do I dream about them even after they've gone? Why do I feel something larger, something cosmic, tying us together? The answer lies beyond reason. It's hidden in the symbolic, in the archetypal, in the mystical. When Jung spoke of anima and animus, he was referring to the unconscious inner image we each carry of the opposite energy within us. Every man holds within him the image of the feminine, the anima. Every woman carries the masculine principle, the animus. And sometimes we meet someone who embodies exactly that repressed energy. The soul recognizes it instantly. It ignites. It remembers. And even if you can't explain it, you feel it. You know it's not an ordinary love. That person didn't come to stay. They came to awaken you, to return to you a part of yourself you had forgotten. And no, it's not always mutual in the way you wish it were. It doesn't always lead to a relationship, but it always leaves a mark. It transforms you. It etches itself into your being. And that's how you know it wasn't just a fleeting romance. It was something more, perhaps even divine. There's something sacred about the energy between two people who are connected on a deeper plane. It's not a bond that builds gradually. It feels as if it has always been there, waiting to be awakened. And when it does, the body knows. The heart feels it. The eyes reflect it. It's a vibration that pierces through you and cannot be hidden. No matter how much you try to deny it, no matter how rational or skeptical you are, deep down, you know, there is something different about this connection. Jung hinted at this many times. There are encounters that bring us face to face with the luminous, the sacred. And by sacred, he wasn't referring to religion. He was referring to a realm beyond the ordinary, a space where the soul speaks through symbols, through dreams, through synchronicities. Have you ever thought about someone and then they appeared, dreamed of them, and then saw those dreams unfold in real life? Heard a song or seen a number that seemed to speak directly to your connection with them? That's the collective unconscious in action. And when two people are linked by a bond this profound, that shared unconscious becomes even more active, because in truth, you're not alone in this connection. The archetypes are present. They awaken ancestral memories, patterns of the psyche that have been repeating since the dawn of humanity. That's what gives this kind of love its feeling of timelessness. And yet, the most painful part of these encounters is often that they don't arrive to give you stability. They come to shake your foundation. They're designed to provoke transformation, not through comfort, but through disruption. Because everything you've repressed, everything you refuse to see about yourself, will now surface, reflected in the other. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of yourself you rejected, buried, or deemed unworthy. And when someone unknowingly activates your shadow, the experience can become overwhelming. Because you're not just falling in love with the other, you're confronting yourself. That's why these connections are rarely soft or predictable. They don't follow the script of romantic movies. One day, everything seems to align, and the next, you're plunged into emotional chaos. And yet, you can't walk away. Something deeper holds you there. It's not codependence, though it might look like it from the outside. It's an inner call, a force that doesn't come from desire, but from the soul's longing. And the most confusing part? It often doesn't feel mutual, or at least not in the same measure. One person loves more, one awakens faster, and that imbalance can be agonizing. Because while you are experiencing a profound inner transformation, the other may not be aware of it in the same way. But that doesn't mean the connection isn't real. It just means each soul has its own timing. What matters is understanding that these encounters are not about possession. They're not about getting the other person. They're about what the connection awakens in you, what it breaks, what it reorders. Jung said, the soul needs symbols, living images, in order to move and evolve. And sometimes, the most powerful symbol it can receive is a person who, without even trying, reveals your truth, who awakens something dormant within you, who forces you to feel with such intensity that there's no going back. Because after such an encounter, something inside you changes forever, and you can't always talk about it. Others might not understand. They'll tell you it's obsession, that you should move on, that there are other people out there. And you know that. You know you could meet someone else, go out, laugh, distract yourself. But deep down, something still vibrates, a lingering echo, a memory that refuses to fade. That perhaps is the sign that you touch something real, something sacred. It's not obsession. It's not delusion. It's your soul remembering. It's your unconscious pointing to a path, a bridge toward your own transformation. And the most mysterious part of all this is that despite the pain, the confusion, the unanswered questions, something inside you whispers that it wasn't a mistake. That encounter had to happen. Even if it ended, even if they're no longer there, their presence served a purpose, not because they completed you, but because they stripped you bare, left you face to face with the parts of yourself you never wanted to see. In Jungian thought, these experiences are not accidents. They are activations, moments when the unconscious pushes you toward a higher level of awareness. And many times, it does so through love. Because love has a unique power to bypass all defenses. It lets your guard down. That's why, just when your life seemed to be in order, just when you thought you had everything under control, that person appears, and something inside you shatters. But it's not destruction, it's revelation. Because that bond didn't come to give you what your ego wanted. It came to give you what your soul needed, even if you don't understand it yet. Even if it hurts. Even if you're left wondering why you felt so much for someone who didn't seem to feel the same way. At the soul level, the intensity was shared, even if the personality denies it. Even if the other can't put it into words. Something awakened in both of you. And it's crucial to understand that these connections don't always last. They don't always turn into lasting relationships, but they always serve a purpose. And once that purpose is fulfilled, a part of you begins to transform. You start to see differently, to feel differently. You stop chasing safety and start craving depth, meaning, truth. This is what Jung would call a confrontation with the self, the true center of your being. That part of you that exists beyond the ego, beyond the roles you play. And it only awakens when you endure an experience powerful enough to break the illusion. And love, especially love that seems to be rooted in another dimension, is one of the most direct paths to get there. Some call these bonds karmic, others call them soulmates. Jung never used those terms in a literal way, but he did suggest that certain relationships operate from a more archetypal dimension. These are not merely interactions between two people, but exchanges between energies far greater than us, forces that push us toward integration, toward the reconciliation of what was once fragmented. And within that process, resistance inevitably surfaces, because the ego resists surrendering control. It clings to its comfort, to its structure. And when someone enters your life and shakes that inner architecture, what emerges is anxiety, fear, even anger. But if instead of running away, you choose to remain present, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You begin to remember who you are. Maybe not in words, maybe not with full clarity, but there's a kind of resonance, like an ancient melody that starts playing again inside of you. A deep, inexplicable knowing that this moment was meant to arrive, that this connection, with all of its contradictions, is part of a larger design. And it is often in that very moment that healing begins, not because of what the other gives you, but because of what they awaken in you. You begin to see your need for approval, your fear of abandonment, your pattern of wearing masks to be liked. All of that rises to the surface. It becomes visible. And though at first it feels like exposure, what's actually happening is liberation. Because love is not only sweetness, it is also a ruthless mirror. And if you have the courage to look into it, if you can hold what it shows you, love becomes a catalyst for authenticity. And once you've crossed that threshold, once you've felt that depth, you can't go back. You can no longer settle for superficial connections, because now you know what it means to feel with your soul. And that kind of love can't be forgotten. What truly transforms us in these bonds is how they force us to stop seeking outside what has always existed within. At first, it seems like the other person holds the answers, that their presence gives your life meaning, that their love completes you, and their gaze validates your existence. But as the soul begins to awaken, something shifts. You realize it was never them completing you. What completed you was the image they activated inside you, the reconnection to your forgotten parts, to your anima if you're a man, to your animus if you're a woman. Jung made it clear. We often fall in love not with the other, but with our projection. The unconscious, desperate to become whole, throws outwards everything it lacks. And when someone embodies that, the emotional impact is so powerful, we mistake it for love. But it's not just any love, it's an initiatory one, and what's hardest about it is accepting that the other may not have come to stay. They came to serve as a channel, sometimes only for a moment, sometimes for a few months, sometimes in a rhythm of comings and goings. But every time they return, they touch something sacred in you. And if you have the courage to face that with awareness, it can take you further than you ever imagined. Jung described it as a call to wholeness, the urge to unite what was once divided. And in that bond, a kind of alchemy unfolds, not superficial chemistry, but actual transmutation. A part of you must die so that another part can be born. What once was a wound becomes presence. What once was a desperate need becomes consciousness. But to get there, you must pass through the fire of separation, the fire of detachment, because this love will confront you with your deepest attachments, the ones you're most afraid to release. And that's perhaps the hardest moment, the point where many get lost, where some choose to numb themselves, to replace, to distract. But if you can hold that pain without running, something in you begins to rise. And it's not a mystical or fantastical elevation. It's an expansion of perception. You start to see the world differently. You begin to feel that everything has meaning, that every coincidence carries a message, that life itself becomes symbolic. And that, in Jungian terms, is a sign that the unconscious is becoming conscious. You no longer love with just your body or mind. Now, you love with your soul. And that way of loving doesn't vanish, can't be imitated, can't be replaced. Because once your heart has resonated at that level, everything else feels small. Not because it's bad, but because you've touched something deeper. And the soul cannot settle for less. Eventually, you understand. This love didn't come to give you a story. It came to give you a transformation, a resurrection, an invitation to truly inhabit yourself. And even if it still hurts, even if you still think of that person every day, something within you already knows. The real gift was not the relationship, but the path it opened within you. The journey back to yourself. And over time, something becomes undeniably clear. That person who appeared in your life wasn't a coincidence. They were a kind of initiator, as if chosen by something larger than you, not to stay, but to activate within you a search you had long forgotten. It was never about finding them. It was about beginning the search for yourself, with honesty, with courage, and without masks. Carl Jung once said that what we do not make conscious will manifest in our lives as fate. And if this encounter shook you to your core, if it disrupted your inner world in a way you couldn't ignore, It's not because life wanted to punish you, and it's certainly not because you were meant to suffer. It happened because something deeply unconscious within you needed to surface. This was never about pain for pain's sake, but about liberation, about shedding everything that no longer serves your growth, everything that can't survive in the next chapter of your evolution. When you begin to look at this connection, not through the eyes of your ego, but through the lens of your soul, everything starts to shift. You understand you're not here to complete someone else, nor is anyone here to complete you. You are here to remember who you truly are. And sometimes, love, pure, unexplainable love, is the only language powerful enough to break down the walls of self-deception you've built over a lifetime. Because when you love like that, without logic, without reason, without expecting anything in return, something in you becomes cleansed. You no longer love to possess. You love to expand, to open, to surrender even to the unknown. And in that surrender, something shifts, not in the outside world, but within you. You begin to see this person not as your destiny, not as the missing piece of your life, but as a mirror, a message, a sacred bridge. And that bridge leads you into the unknown territories within yourself, toward that sacred place Jung referred to as the self, your true center, your full psychic wholeness, your deepest truth. On the journey back to yourself, this other person becomes a symbol, not just a memory or someone who changed your life, but a living image connecting you to what you still need to integrate. Maybe your tenderness, maybe your strength, maybe your ability to surrender, to trust, to let go of control. It doesn't matter whether that person is still physically present or not. What truly matters is the internal transformation that was set in motion by their appearance. That's the most mysterious part, because even if you never speak again, even if your paths never cross once more, their energy continues to live within you, not as obsession, not as longing, but as an active symbol, an inner force guiding you toward your most authentic path. And in time, if you keep walking inward, something beautiful begins to unfold. You realize that all that love you once felt for the other was actually the love your soul had been begging for. Love that you had forgotten how to give to yourself. And when that realization comes, something miraculous happens. Almost without noticing, you begin to treat yourself with more respect, more gentleness, more care, not because someone else loved you, but because you finally saw what you were capable of feeling, how deep your emotions go, how real your experience is, and all that you believed the other person came to give you. You now feel it rising from within. And once you get there, something subtle but powerful changes. You no longer crave closure. You stop needing explanations. You release the desperate longing for answers, because you understand something fundamental. The soul doesn't need an ending. It needs meaning. And you've already found it. That connection was the catalyst. The soul doesn't measure in time. It measures in depth. And if that encounter peeled back layers you didn't even know existed, if it forced you to face your wounds, if it led you to seek something sacred, something beyond the surface, then it served its purpose. And once you reach that point, there is no going back. Because once the soul awakens, nothing feels the same again. You can no longer wear the same masks. You can't keep repeating hollow patterns. You can't keep denying what you now see. Because now you know, you've felt, you've remembered. And that memory transforms everything. You begin to look at others through new eyes, not from a place of lack or a need to be accepted, but from presence, from awareness. because you've come to understand that no one can give you what you haven't first given to yourself. Love is not something you ask for. It's something you radiate once you reconnect with your essence. And once that essence is activated, it becomes your compass. It guides how you speak, how you look at the world, how you love. Everything becomes more authentic, more grounded, more profound, even when it hurts, even when there are no answers, because you're no longer searching for explanations. You're searching for connection. Maybe that person will return to your life, or maybe not. But either way, your sense of self no longer hinges on their presence, because you've discovered something eternal, that the truest, most divine connection is not the one that ties you to another, but the one that brings you back to yourself, through everything the other awakened in you, and that no one can take away. And if this message truly resonated with you, if at any point it felt like I was speaking directly to the part of you that lives quietly within your soul, then I invite you to share your story in the comments. Not just because I want to read your words, but because I know, deep down, that out there in the world, there are countless others who have felt exactly what you've felt. People who have loved with such intensity and mystery that it defies explanation. People who have experienced connections so profound, so inexplicably real, that they seemed to transcend this physical world, as if born in another realm entirely. Your experience matters. What you felt, what perhaps you've never been able to explain, might be the key that helps someone else understand their own emotions. Sometimes we go through life carrying silent truths, thinking we are alone in what we feel. But when one person dares to give voice to the unspoken, it creates a ripple that touches others in ways we may never fully comprehend. So share this video with someone who might still be struggling to put their feelings into words. Share it with the people who have loved with their entire being and never had the chance to talk about it. With those who carry an invisible thread, a bond that never found closure, a story left unfinished yet eternally present in the heart. Let them hear these words, because maybe, just maybe, what you lived through is exactly what someone else needs to hear to finally feel understood, to realize they are not broken, to understand that what they feel is not only valid, but sacred, that their love wasn't ordinary. It was a glimpse into something greater. And if you feel called to keep diving deeper into these silent truths, into these unseen forces that move through our lives, then I invite you to subscribe, because this isn't just a channel about relationships. This is a space where we explore the language of the soul, a place where we dare to ask the deeper questions, where we listen not just with the mind, but with the spirit. Together, we'll keep unraveling the mysteries that live within us. We'll keep honoring the quiet parts of ourselves that have waited so long to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. So I'll see you in the next video. And until then, remember this: when the soul speaks, the heart always listens.